Well, it's kind of sad, but at the same time exciting. And of course, I mean, college football coming to a close as far as regular season, and now we got our conference championship games being played all this weekend. Of course, it is championship weekend, and this is beef up front. Ryan Coyle, beef himself. I am Sean Brace. We're going to go over all of the games that are going down this weekend, starting on Friday with the Pac 12 championship game. We'll even sprinkle in our Heisman Trophy conversation and some interesting bowl game combo just sparked up, and some disappointing elements as we are about to enter into bowl season. But we'll hold off on that in just a second. Of course, Ryan, good evening, sir. How are we doing today?
Yeah, Sean, as you said, kind of at the beginning, it's a sad show, but it's also, I think, one of the best shows of this season. We've had so many great weekends of college football this year. I think this year more than ever, I think we had more marquee matchups, like great games to look forward to than I can remember in recent memory. And then this is by far the best college football championship weekend of the college football playoff era. Like there's going to be some mad chaos, and I think Sunday morning come noon, there's going to be one team that is left out that has a legitimate case to be pissed off, and that's going to be very, very upset. There's going to be one team on the outside looking in. Um, out of that four, out of that five, it's going to be an insane weekend. And Friday night, we get to probably punch our first ticket with the Pac-12. So excited to get into all the games here.
All right. Well, we're not going to start with New Mexico State and Liberty. All love and respect to our Conference USA friends out there. But let's talk about Oregon and Washington here. And it's the Pac 12 championship game going down in Vegas. Last year, you had USC and Utah. Caleb Williams ended up getting hurt, but still, it was just great theater, beautiful scene out there in Vegas, and of course, the game essentially all by itself. All eyes will be on this game even more this year, as the winner of this game is going to get a trip into the college football playoff. Oregon and Washington. 9.5 point spread on DraftKings Sportsbook. 66 is our total. This is an 8 p.m. kick, 5 o'clock out there in Vegas time. Ryan, I know this much that this number will continue to rise up. I think that this number is going to get to double digits. The question I have is why? I don't understand that. I think people are going a little crazy here with the Oregon love. I know that they're a really good football team. You better believe Washington is. They are, and this is a
Yeah.
championship game. So I think this is going to be a close game. I'm really intrigued to hear what you have to say. A lot is on the line, from the playoff berth to, of course, conference title, bragging rights, Pac-12 closing up shop, and oh, by the way, Heisman Trophy. You got the front runner with Bo Nix minus 175, and Michael Penix Jr. plus 1,600 on DraftKings Sportsbook. But let's start with the point spread here. Give us a side, where you leaning, where you looking.
Yeah, so this was one of those things I tweeted out earlier. I believe it might have been Sunday or Monday when I first saw this 9.5. I was shocked to see that number, but the books have kind of been like hinting at this the past few weeks. Like Oregon, despite having that loss, was still like a minus like 170, minus 190 to wind up winning the Pac-12. And you can say what you want about Washington maybe not showing up over kind of the second half of the season, but at the end of the day, just like with the Philadelphia Eagles, they just find a way to win the football game at the end of the day, and that's what ultimately matters, especially in college football, where you pretty much have to have that unblemished record to find your way into the college football playoff at the end of the day. Since Michael Penix has came to Washington, he's 23-2, and neither of those two losses were by double digits. He lost by 8 to UCLA last year and lost by 7 to Arizona State last year in back-to-back weeks. So I don't know why they're getting so disrespected. I've loved this Oregon team all year. I've been high on the balance that they've had, but they also haven't exactly beat many good teams yet this either. I mean, the Pac-12, we were kind of talking about at the beginning of the season. It was looking like it was going to be an awesome stack conference, but you saw teams like Colorado after their hot start, USC after their hot start, teams like that kind of fall off down the stretch. And so Oregon's best game was the Washington game, and they lost that matchup. I do think there's a legit chance that Washington can win this game. They're not really missing anyone injured. Rome Odunze is one of the best receivers and playmakers in college football. Michael Penix. I'm taking Washington plus a 9.5. It's definitely one of those fishy kind of lines. Like, why is it? Does Vegas know something? But at the same time, I saw earlier, I think it was 55% of the public is on Oregon minus 9.5 as well. So it's not like it's very lopsided in this. I love Washington plus a 9.5, and I do think that they have a shot to win this game. It's not like it's a Michigan versus Iowa type of matchup.
Plus 275 on the money line. Definitely, if you believe that, or if you're going to take the 9.5, I would definitely sprinkle a little something there on the plus 275. I'm going to give you another flyer on a play too as well in this game. I think that we're going to see a boatload of scoring. I like the over in this. I really do think it's going to be a pretty much a rematch, like or a play out like it did. Of course, it's a rematch like it did a few weeks ago, and it was a great game. It was a tight game, and it literally came down to the final minute. And
That might
both
have
those
been the
games,
best. I think the best game start to finish in college football this year.
man, that game, Michigan Ohio State, was pretty good.
Yeah,
That was a good game. That was
yeah.
a really good game. But you're right, as far as
Entertainment
score and
wise,
yeah,
scoring points and everything.
yeah. Well, Pac-12 delivered this year. As we said. So I'm with you. I'm taking the points. I kind of was like, is this a sucker bet? Is this what this is going on here? But dude, I get it. Bo Nix is playing really well, but you're looking at a guy that can win the Heisman Trophy and Michael Penix Jr. Those guys attack. They take shots down the field. As far as air yards are concerned, take a look at some of those numbers. It's not even close. It's really not. And I think that's what's going to happen with Washington. They're going to play a little loose. They're a major underdog. So disrespect is there. That's going to be amplified to no end. And like I said, the lights are going to be shining bright, so I expect a really, really good game. Give me the over 66. And weren't you on the over in the last time too? Weren't you saying like they can't put this number high enough?
That was the
Oh, that
Washington
was a
USC game,
USC game.
but
That's what
this
it
was
was.
when we hit as well. I think it was probably beginning of the fourth quarter around there, and you had some missed kicks and everything, a few missed trips to the red zone. Like that game easily could have been in the 80s. But when you kind of, if I can go to the Heisman real quick, Penix is still on the board at plus 1600. Like you're
Yep.
saying, if you think Washington's going to go out there, I think if Oregon wins this game, I think it's going to stay under because Oregon, what they've done the best all year. Bo Nix can go out there and throw for 400 yards, but this is a team that really runs the football well and just has a balanced offense. Washington, they have to go out there and Michael Penix has to throw the ball 45, 50 times. And it's going to be, if you think Washington has a shot, that game's going to be 45-42. He's throwing the ball 45, 50 times. He's throwing for 400 yards. He's throwing for 4 touchdowns. He goes out there and does that head-to-head against Bo Nix, beats him for the second time this year, wins the Pac-12, and Jaden Daniels is at home watching on the couch. It's going to be hard for voters to get that out of their memory. And I think the last Heisman winner to going into the Heisman to have 3 losses was Lamar Jackson. Last year, Caleb Williams ultimately wound up with 3 losses after losing the bowl game. But this is a thing where the voters do value wins as well. And undefeated season with the numbers that Penix has put up, I think it'd be hard to deny him that at that point. And at plus 1600, don't even bet the game at that point. If you think they're going to win, I would just take Michael Penix straight up. Maybe if you wanted to play it safe, just take the spread or something to have some rooting interest for the game. But that would be your big ticket winner at the end of the day.
Right there. Absolutely. Did fire on it after the show. Talked to Julian Edlow from DraftKings. He's on his way out there to the game, a matter of fact. And I just said, why? Why is he 1600? Because if he beats Bo Nix, as you just said, it'll be the second time. Bo Nix is not going to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
Like he's not. Jaden Daniels could. I know everyone is all, really crowing about him. And
He's on his couch this week.
Exactly. And again, Michael Penix Jr., his numbers are right there. They're right there. I know Jaden Daniels had a great season. It trumped what Joe Burrow did, which was one of the craziest seasons we've ever seen in college football. But Michael Penix Jr.'s numbers are right there. And if he goes out there on Saturday, goes undefeated, gets to the college football playoff, beats this team, who everybody is starting to say is on Georgia's level. Matter of fact, there's a 1-point spread against Georgia. I'm like, all right, I can get there if they win this game against Washington. I got to see it to believe it. I'm not putting them on the level of Georgia right here at this point in time, but we'll see. I think Penix at 1600 is a must play. That's a must play for anybody out there. 1600, come on, man.
And you look at the time that they played Oregon earlier in the season, he went 22 for 37 for 302 yards and 4 touchdowns. So even if he cleans up that completion percentage a little bit, remember that game was played in the rain for a lot of the day as well. Now he's going to be in an indoor environment. He should be able to complete 65, 70% of his passes in this one, I would think. Go for over 300 yards, have a chance to throw multiple touchdowns. Like you said, take down the current Heisman favorite back to back or twice in one season. It's going to be hard to get that memory out of your head when you're going to submit that vote at the end of the day.
All right. New Mexico State Liberty. Let's get on over to that. Anything for you on this one? 10.5. I know some people are talking about Jeff Parles. I had him on from Vegas earlier this week. He likes New Mexico State. Matter of fact, I think that was his favorite play this week. Because he said Texas was blown up too much, that he couldn't say Texas at this point in time, but still New Mexico State catching all those points. Really impressive job of what they've been able to do this year. Anything for you on this game? I will be fully upfront. I don't like anything in this game, but I am willing to at least take a little flyer on New Mexico State since Parles said it was his best bet.
Yeah, so I mean, it's conference title weekend. You only have 10 games. You got to put a little action, I think, on every game because you're not going to be able to do this until next college football Saturday. So, like you said, it's not a game that I'm dying to look at right now. New Mexico State has covered their last 10 games, though. That includes that win at Auburn. But Liberty is a damn good team. They've won by 11 or more in 9 of their 12 matchups this year. I think Jamie Chadwell is one of the best, most underrated coaches in the country. It's a stop at Liberty where I don't think he'll be there very long. If he doesn't want to leave this year, he'll probably have his pick of some Power 5 jobs next season. This is a spot that I like Liberty. I think that New Mexico State might have peaked a little bit too much, and this Liberty team is good. They already took care of New Mexico State at the beginning of the season. I believe it was like 33-16. So this is a spot where I'm looking at Liberty to win this game by 2 touchdowns. But as I said, it's not something that I'm falling over head over heels for. It's more so just that would be my play for this matchup at least.
All right, let's keep it moving. Let's get to Saturday. And we kick things off bright and early at noon. And we got a Big 12 championship game that features Texas with 1 loss on the season and Oklahoma State. Big time number here. Now up to 15 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Total coming in at 55. Of course, the history of Texas, what we know happened there. They lost to Oklahoma on October the 7th. Since then, 6 consecutive victories. They're 11-1. And they have a 57-7 win over Texas Tech last week. And Oklahoma State, they won 7 of their last 8 after opening up the season 2-2 on the year. Will this be a ball game? There's a lot at stake. Texas could very well be one of the main one-loss teams right now. You got Oregon, you got Ohio State, you got Alabama, and of course them. So I think if Georgia eliminates Alabama, Washington eliminates, Oregon, next thing you know, you're going to have a decision between those 2 teams that are left with 1 loss, Ohio State and Texas. Which way would you go on that? It's hard to argue that the committee wouldn't pick Texas. So
Yeah.
this is a huge game. We know it, but will it be a close game? 15-point spread.
Yeah, so the thing is with this too, as we were talking about at the beginning, where a lot of these teams they're all kind of fighting for that one spot that's going to be left out most likely. So style points are going to matter this weekend. So if Texas gets up, they're going to have their foot on the gas and try to put them away as much as possible. When you look at the history of the Big 12 championship, though, since 2017, there's been no team has won that game by more than 15 points. So this is a conference that historically has stayed under that number and has stayed pretty close. The play I really like in this game, is the over. Last 5 matchups between these 2 schools have all gone over 55. So I think this was one that we do see some points. I do think Oklahoma State, kind of like I was picking them at the beginning of the year with the Oklahoma game, there's no better way to kind of tell Texas, don't let the door hit you on the way out than beating them in this game, having Texas lose, having Texas get their chance to the college football playoff robbed as they leave the Big 12 to head to the SEC. Mike Gundy, I think he knows how to get his guys up and ready for these kind of revenge spots better than any other coach in the Big 12, maybe even in the country. He knows how to have those kind of extra tricks up his sleeve to motivate his guys. So I'm looking at Oklahoma State to cover this one. One big disadvantage in this game for them, they live and die with Ollie Gordon in the run game. He's one of the best running backs in the country. Texas has the 4th best rush defense in the country. So if they're able to stop him, stifle that run game, I'm a little bit worried about Oklahoma State in the passing game, about being able to move the ball. But I think Texas is just going to do it Texas. They're going to slip up. They do it every single year. And I'm just looking at this spot for Oklahoma State. All you got to do is keep it within 2 touchdowns to win that bet. I think they're going to give them a fight, a really good first half. I think we see some points. So my 2 plays actually in this game, I did take the over of 55 and Oklahoma State plus a 15.
Will Gordon be a Final Four finalist or a Heisman finalist? The Final Four that goes to New York.
I think it's going to wind up being the 3 quarterbacks that we already discussed with Nick.
Only Daniels. 3 guys go, right?
Yeah. I
That's
believe
right. It's only
so.
3. Yeah, I think it is only 3. That's right. So it's not 4. So it'll be all the 3 quarterbacks, not him.
Yeah, and the Walter Camp Award, it's like a basic another Heisman. The finalists for that were already announced as well. So if I think also a guy that might be able to throw his name into the ring this weekend if he has a big game and beats Georgia is Milrow. I'm not saying he'd win it, but if Bo Nix goes out there and has a poor game on Friday night, and he's the reason like why Oregon loses, and Milrow's the reason why Alabama wins, I could see him getting that invite, being like Daniels, Penix, and Milrow at the end of the day, which would be a pretty surprising trio from just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the thing is Milrow got benched, and I know that they
Yeah,
played well, and it's just like, all right, is
too
it
little,
really a
too
high?
late to win it, but
Yeah.
maybe the player of the year last week, and then knocking off Georgia for the first time in 3 years. That's gonna be another thing that sticks in people's mind too.
We'll get to that game in just a second. Let's continue on Saturday. Let's talk about Miami of Ohio and Toledo. A little action coming your way. 8-point spread. 44 is your total. Noon kick. Where are you on this one, Beef?
So 15 of the last 19 MAC title games have gone over 44 points. This is usually a higher scoring conference title game. And Miami of Ohio is one of the best teams in the country against the spread, 9-3 against the spread this season. So this is one that I'm looking at the over and Miami of Ohio to cover. It was a 21-17 win by Toledo earlier in the year. Toledo is lives and die with the running game. Penny Boone, I believe, is how you say his last name. 17 carries for 73 yards in the game against Miami of Ohio, and they still found a way to win. This was a guy that ran for over 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns on the season. So they live and die with the running game. If he was able to do that in the first matchup and they still won, I think he's going to be able to have a bounce back game this time around. So I am going to take Toledo to win, but I will take Miami of Ohio to cover and the over to hit. I like that 15 of the last 19. This is usually one of those conference title games where some weird kind of chaotic things happen, and we're going to get some points in this one.
Both really good football teams, 11-1 versus 10-2, and the best of the best that conference has to offer. So that should be a good football game. We'll keep it going. 3 p.m. Let's talk about UNLV and Boise State. This is definitely going to be a good game. UNLV has been really surprising all season long. ATS 10-2. I think that's the biggest thing that we circled. 9-3 on the season. Boise State a little bit more of a disappointment, but 7-5 here they are with a chance to end their season the right way, and they're actually favored here. DraftKings Sportsbook looking right now. 2.5 Boise's favored. 59 is your total. We running with the running Rebels here?
Yeah, so it's weird for this one. Boise State actually just fired their coach a few weeks ago, and here they are in the conference title game. So it's a spot where I don't think Boise State was expecting to be at a few weeks ago. I am going to take UNLV to cover this one, and I think if you think they can keep it under 2, you might as well take them on the money line in this game. This is a game being played at Vegas too, so this is a game in front of their home crowd. In a Super Bowl type of game. UNLV only won double-digit games once in program history back in 1984. They had all those wins vacated by the NCAA. So it's a team that's never won 10 games. That's like a huge milestone for the program. If they're able to do that while winning a conference championship in the same day, that'd be a big game. So no more motivation for that. Said Boise State already kind of in a weird situation with the head coach out the door. I don't know if they've been more motivated without him, less motivated, or whatever it is. But I think UNLV has everything to play for and more. So I'm going to take them, and I'm actually going to take them on the money line to win this one straight up.
Excellent. All right. Let's keep it moving. Let's get to 4 o'clock on Saturday, and all eyes will be on the SEC championship game. And we've seen these two teams play in this game a few times over the years. Alabama, they are catching 5.5 here, 54.5. Game being played at the Mercedes-Benz Dome there in Georgia. 5.5 favored for the Georgia Bulldogs on DraftKings Sportsbook. I'll tell you straight up, Beef. I like Bama catching the points here. I think they got the little shock to the system that they needed. Not going to really put too much into what took place last week for Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
They got a little close, though. They never were able to pull away. I know that was the expectation there. Maybe they're looking ahead here. I doubt that. This is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a close game. So I'll take the points with Bama. Where are you going?
Yeah, so the one stat that I saw on Twitter was from Ben Falkus, I believe is how you say his name. Since 2010, Bama has been favored in 190 of their 193 games. All 3 times have been as an underdog versus Georgia. This Saturday is the 4th. So that's just insane. Just a little side note on how good Bama has been in the Saban era. But when you look at the SEC title game historically, I feel like this is a game I'm always looking forward to the most, but it doesn't usually deliver like a really good game. The last SEC title game decided by 6 or more, or by 6 points, was Florida back in 2020 against Alabama. Since every other matchup during that time frame over the past decade has been decided by double digit points. So this is a usually, if you think that Bama is going to be able to cover, keep this close, just take them outright to win, because this is like a game where we never really see it that close down to the wire when you look at it historically. And they also just have that kind of team of destiny vibe to me after that game last week. They're certainly riding that momentum and playing with house money going into this game, I feel like, as well. They have everything to play for. Georgia could still potentially get in with the loss. Bama knows they need the win in this one. I do like Bama to win it outright. My big thing with Georgia over the course of this season, throughout the preseason, my preseason coverage and everything, there hasn't been a team to three-peat in college football since the 1930s with Minnesota. There's bound to be a slip up one of these next potential 3 games. I think whether it's this game, the college football semi, or the title game, and I think this is the best spot to do it. Nick Saban against Kirby Smart, get some revenge, get him back. We saw them knock off them in the SEC title game just a few years ago. I think this is just a spot where Alabama has a very good chance to win this football game. Jalen Milroe probably playing his best football of the season. And I'm going to take Alabama to win this one outright down in Atlanta.
I like that. Plus 180 on the money line here on DraftKings, and I'm with you. If you think that Alabama's going to keep this close and cover the number, then might as well get involved on that money line, see if we can get some really chaos going there, because that's the one. If Alabama beats Georgia, this is when all S hits the fan, correct?
Yeah, if Alabama beats Georgia, then we just say you had Texas win, just say you had either Oregon or Washington. I think regardless, one of those guys get in. Then if you have Michigan most likely beat Iowa, and then Florida State, Louisville, we'll talk about in a little bit. That's the scenario that one team is going to be on the outside looking in. Do you leave out Alabama, or do you leave out Georgia? Do you leave out Texas? Do you leave out Florida State? There's going to be one team very pissed off Sunday afternoon, and I hope they are able to get that coach on TV, because I feel like that is going to be some good clips out of that.
Yeah, I think that we might see some bravado from this committee, and if Florida State is undefeated, they might say, you know what? Well, they don't have their quarterback, and of course, that's the big talking point. And again, this is all dictated off of course, they win 1, but 2 with Alabama beating Georgia, and it's hard to imagine that you don't put Georgia in, but I think I could see that as well, just from the simple standpoint of, like, really, you're not going to put an undefeated conference champion in? I don't care if they lost their quarterback or not. There's more than one player on the field, and that's a really talented Florida State team. A lot to play for this weekend. We'll come to that game in just a second. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to SMU and Tulane here. This is a 4:00 kick as well. Tulane 3.5-point favorites. 47 is your total. Where you at in this one, Beef?
So Tulane's last 6 games at home have gone under the projected total, and in 5 of the 7 American Conference title games, it has gone under 47. So Tulane is a very good defensive squad, very good at home, but they are playing an SMU offense that's really good, 31 or more in every conference game this season. So kind of a clash of styles in this one, but this is one of those games where it's not at a neutral site. This is at Tulane. This is down in New Orleans. So this is a spot where they're going to have the home field advantage in this matchup. I like them to keep this one low scoring, just like they do every game at home. And I'm going to go with the under of 47 as my play. I do think Tulane will find a way to win. SMU kind of got the easy part of the conference schedule. Tulane had to go through more of the gauntlet. This Tulane team only loss on the season was at home earlier in the year to Ole Miss without their quarterback, Michael Pratt. So a very good Tulane squad. I like them to win this game. I think SMU can keep it close, but I like the under as my official play, 47 there.
All right, let's get on over to the Sun Belt Championship. We got App State and Troy. Troy is a 6-point favorite, 52.5. This is also a 4:00 kick.
Yeah, not much on this one. This is probably the one I have the least amount of intrigue on, just because it should have been James Madison in this game. But looking at each of the 4 Sun Belt title games, there's only been 4 conference title games in the Sun Belt. The winner has won by 6 or more in each of them. So I do like Troy to cover. This is another one where it's a better Troy team. They had a very good matchup earlier in the year with James Madison, but App State was able to beat James Madison. They put up a really good fight against North Carolina too. But I will take Troy, another scenario where they are the home team in this game. So Troy minus 6.5 is my play there. Not much info on this one.
Yeah, that James Madison game will definitely be standing out for a long time for me, just with all the hoopla and all the buzz with that game. And the next thing you know, they go in there and beat them. It was just tremendous,
Same
tremendous
thing
game.
happened last year though with uh, App State. They hosted game day, and Troy went there and they won it on like a Hail Mary. So it was a pretty wild thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep it moving. 2 games left here on the card over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's go to the easy one first. Let's go to Michigan and Iowa. I don't think anyone's going to be crazy enough to pick Iowa in this one. 22.5-point spread, 35 is your total. I've heard 3 different ways to bet on this game. Where do you stand, Beef? I've heard the over on the total, 35. I heard over on the team total for Michigan, I think is 20. I'll pull it up. I want to get that, just lock that in. And I've also heard first half play for 13.5 Michigan minus 13.5. I love that play, actually. While I'm looking up the team totals for Michigan, I know Iowa's, I think, at 5.5, if I'm not mistaken. Where are you at on this game? Which way are you going to be wagering on it?
Yeah, when you look at Michigan the last 2 years in the Big Ten title game, they absolutely smashed Iowa and Purdue. I really like that 13.5 in the first half as well. I could see them getting up and early. I am still going to go with the under in this game. I think it could be very similar to the Penn State Iowa game earlier in the year where it was 31-0. Iowa just not able to move the ball, but their defense is still competent enough, strong enough to keep them in it somewhat. So my play on this one is probably going to be that under of 35. I could see it being also as well Iowa cover in maybe like a 27-7 type game. So you potentially hit both there. But this is out of the Big Five or the Power Five games. It's definitely the one I'm looking forward to the least. And another reason I'm so glad that they're going away from the divisions, because the Big Ten next year, when you throw in Oregon, Washington, UCLA, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. That's going to be a really fun conference and setting up for a really awesome conference title game, just like a bunch of these ones. So that is the major positive of realignment. You're going to have so many juice matchups going forward. It's going to be really fun.
29.5 is Michigan's team total. So you're going to stay with the under. You're going to ride that streak with Iowa games, stay into the under.
I think I closed out the year on like, and I just kept daring myself to take it. So might as well kind of go out, play with some of the winnings I have from that one.
All right, let's get to the big one for Beef, because he's been Florida State's #1 fan. He's been buying in from the beginning, way in the beginning, even before the season kicked off. And this one has a ton of importance behind it. We all know the reasons why. They got to find a way to win. And even if they do win, they go undefeated in their conference all season long, win their conference championship. They still might be on the outside looking in. I find it hard to believe, but who knows? 2.5-point spread for Florida State, 47.5 is your total in this one. Of course, Jordan Travis goes down and everything has changed for Florida State. Tough game against Florida. The big thing for me in that game is, man, the offense was just not there. I know Florida probably gave it their best shot. That's not a good football team, and Florida State was only able to get like 220 total yards in the game at Florida State, or at Florida. So when it comes to this one, I'm going to be watching and definitely thinking that Louisville's going to come away with this victory here. Had Kentucky last week. That was an easy one, probably the easiest one on the board, in my opinion. But for you, 8 p.m. ACC Championship Saturday night. Which way you going, Beef?
So I will ride with Florida State in this one just because even with Rodemaker playing quarterback, they still have some dudes up front on the line of scrimmage, and Benson's a really good back. I mean, if there's no better time to use him more than they have all season in this game. He should carry the ball 23 to 25 times. He averaged 6.1 yards per carry on the year, 14 rushing touchdowns, a little over 800 rushing yards. He's a very good back, and they have dudes on the defensive side of the ball too. So I really like, if coming into this one, if you think Florida State's going to win this game, I think the under is a good play. I think it's going to have to be like a 24-20 type football game, where Louisville is a team that has shown the ability to go out there and score, put up some points this year. If Louisville is able to get ahead like 10-0, 14-0, I think Florida State's toast coming, trying to battle back from behind in this matchup. So I think Florida State and the under is my play, -2.5, and the under of 48.5 are the two plays I like in this matchup. But big picture wise, I think if whatever team wins the Pac-12 is going to get in. And then all the favorites win. If Georgia wins, if Texas wins, and if Michigan wins, I think you see Florida State on the outside looking in, even if they have that zero next to their name in the loss column, unless they win this game by double-digit points convincingly. If they can go out and show, all right, we're able to go out there and compete with or blow out a Louisville team that has been pretty good all year. Because I just can't see the committee looking at each other in the room and thinking, all right, Florida State, 17.5-point dog probably to Georgia. Is that really going to be the product that gives us a good game? Because I think I heard Herb Street say it earlier. It's not the doing the right thing or the most deserving team. It's your job in the committee is to put the best 4 teams in the country in the playoff. And if all the favorites win, if you have Oregon, Michigan, Georgia, and Texas, you're telling me that wouldn't be a better Final Four than this version of Florida State without Jordan Travis? I don't care that, they did this all the entire way. You can argue the same thing with like back in the day when with the Eagles and Wentz and Foles. Who knows? You could go have some magic. Cardell Jones went and did it for Ohio State itself. But one of those teams I think deserves more and is a better fit in this playoff than Florida State, despite being undefeated. Because I would take that Georgia versus Texas and Michigan versus Oregon matchup. Those would be awesome. Those would be probably the best playoff ever. And when you look at the playoff historically, since it went to 4 teams, these semifinal rounds have been pretty much blowouts more times than not. So I think they're going to kind of use that against Florida State as well. And as you were saying, I'm probably the biggest Florida State backer
Yeah.
out there right now. I have the 20-1 ticket. I think that's unfortunately toast, even if they find a way in. But I just don't think that there's a way for them to get in, even if they go undefeated. A lot of people disagree with that, but that's just my stance on it.
Very surprising to hear you, Beef. I thought for sure you'd be all Florida State. I mean, look, you got a voice, you got a platform, talk a lot of college football, got a great following. You gotta go ahead and keep screaming it from the mountaintops, right? Because that's what everybody else is doing, especially when it comes to, of course, Jaden Daniels and the Heisman. It's like, wait a minute, I'm all about Penix here. So I've been yelling about Penix from the beginning. I'm going to hold on to that one, but I'm with you. I think you made a pretty good case there. It's just unfortunate that you lose your starting quarterback and the caliber of player that Jordan Travis is. And it's just deflating. It's just, I hate saying it, but it is what it is. And
yeah, the one argument
we'll,
I would have
see,
if Alabama
okay.
beats Georgia, I think Florida State should go.
If
Florida State,
Alabama beats Georgia, Florida State should go. That means Georgia's not going.
yes, I think that because then you have the undefeated conference champion, and then you're putting in a team that didn't win the conference championship, if that makes sense. I think Florida
No, yeah.
State should be the 4. You put Bama at the 3, but then you can't do a bat. There would probably need to be some seeding arrangements because of you can't have Alabama playing Texas again, most likely in that first matchup. But I do think Florida State would be not more deserving, but they would won the conference title undefeated. Georgia lost the conference title. They had the chance. All they had to do was win. I don't care. Florida State should go in at that point. But I think if you have the other circumstance where all the favorites win, the other teams are just better than Florida State straight up.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. It all gets started
That's
on Friday. Yeah, there's a lot to see. I mean, this is crazy. And I made the joke a couple weeks ago, but it would have been nice to have the 12-team playoff this year. Unfortunately, it's not here. And
that's what the committee can point to this week and be like, this is why we're expanding. Don't be mad at us. Don't be mad at us now. You don't have this problem next year.
No, and that's probably a cop-out. That's their cop-out. That's what they're going to say, and I'm right there with you on that one. But as you pointed out, we want the best matchups, the 4 best teams. If one's without their quarterback and Texas goes and blows out Oklahoma State and, let's just say Washington handles Oregon, we know a Pac-12 team is getting in. We know an SEC team is getting in. We know Michigan is in, right? Like they're not losing to Iowa, so they're in. So there's 3 right there. We got 1 left, 1 spot up.
But just say you throw in as well. Just say you throw in Texas loses. You have Florida State lose. Maybe then Ohio State seeks their way in. Also, it was said coming into the championship weekend, a team lower than 6 has never made the playoff. So in our scenario, we have Texas jumping, who is at 7 now, going into the playoff. And we also have potentially Bama at 8 going into the playoff. So that would be a first as well if you're looking historically. Who knows? Maybe they use Ohio State's really good wins and their only loss being to number 2, most likely Michigan at the end of the day. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be conversation. Sunday morning is going to be exciting. Woo! I hope there's no leaks or anything, and it's one of those things where everyone's able to watch it live. But there's going to be one really pissed off coach, fan base, and program out there, I think, come Sunday around 12:30.
Beef, good luck on all your plays, man. Always great to break it down with you, sir. Thursday night, come out and join us. We'll be live from Maggie's on the waterfront, and we'll be hosting a final watch party. Excuse me, for Thursday night football, Cowboys and Seahawks. It all starts at 8:00. We're giving away Birds tickets. I believe those are Birds and Giants tickets and other Miller Lite giveaways. We had a lot of fun in our first 2. This is our 3rd installment. Who knows? We might be able to add on in the new year, but for here right now, this is our final one this year. Been a lot of fun. So come on out. It's going to be a great crowd. Maggie's on the waterfront. The owners already hit me up on social, so we're excited about it. Beef does a great job, as well as the rest of the Gambler gang. For Ryan Coyle, I am Sean Brace. We'll see you at Maggie's on Thursday night. Good luck on all your plays, everybody. This has been Beef Up Front.